Hello, boys. Do you know, when the weather's cold and miserable, what I love to do most is to curl up and listen to a story. So, I want you boys to go get comfortable, nice and cozy, because I am going to tell you a story. Quite a long time ago, there was a man whose name was Akiva, and Akiva was very, very, very poor. So poor that he could never go to school. He could never learn to read or write, or learn Torah or daven. As soon as he was old enough, he got a job so that he could earn money to get himself some food. And he worked from when he was a child. All his life he worked. And he worked for a man whose name was Kalba Savua. And Kalba Savua was a very, very rich man, a Jewish man. And Akiva worked for Kalba Savua. And Kalba Savua had a daughter. Her name was Rachel. And Rachel decided when she was old enough that she did not want to marry any of the rich and famous people who were coming to her father's house. She wanted to marry someone who was kind. All she wanted was someone who was kind. And you know which person she chose to marry? Someone who she could see was kind and special? Akiva, the poor, poor man who worked for her father. All he knew how to do was look after sheep. He was her father's shepherd, and he looked after her father's sheep. And she told her father she wanted to marry Akiva. And Kalba Savua said, "What? My daughter can't marry a poor shepherd. My daughter needs to marry someone who's a Talmid Chacham, someone who's rich, someone who's clever. You can't marry Akiva." And Rachel said, "But Abba, he is kind, and I can see that if he has a chance to learn, he will be able to learn, and he can become a Talmid Chacham." And Kalba Savua said, "No ways, not going to happen at all." And Rachel said, "But Abba, that's who I want to marry." And they had a long discussion, and in the end they decided that Rachel and Akiva were going to get married. But Kalba Savua said, "Don't come ask me for money. I'm not giving you any of my money. My money was for you to marry a special Talmid Chacham, not for you to marry a shepherd." And Rachel and Akiva said, "Fine, you don't have to give us any money. We don't need money." And they got married, and they went to live somewhere away from her father. They were very, very, very poor. So very poor. We can't even imagine how poor they were. They did not have beds. They slept on straw, which they put on the floor, and they lay down on the straw, and that was their bed. And you know what they ate every day? A little bit of bread and a little bit of soup, and that's all they had. But they were happy because they were still kind. And if people would come knocking on their door to ask for tzedakah, they gave whatever they could. They loved doing chesed. One day, Rachel convinced Akiva that he needs to go to school. Akiva was 40 years old, probably older than all your Abbas. He was 40 years old, and he went to grade R. And he went to the grade R classroom with all the little boys, and he sat down at a desk, and they probably were giggling and saying, "Oh my goodness, there's a man in the class with us." And he learned with them the Aleph Beis, and he learned comets with them and all the Nakudas, and he learned to read. And then he went to grade 1 and grade 2 and grade 3 and grade 4, and he started to learn and to learn and to learn. And as soon as he learned what he needed, he went to the next class and the next class and the next class until he finished school, and he went to yeshiva. And he learned and he learned and he learned and he learned until the other boys in the yeshiva would come and ask him questions. And then the other boys in the yeshiva came to ask him to teach them. And he became a Rabi in the yeshiva. And he became the Rosh Yeshiva. He became in charge of the whole yeshiva. And for 12 years, he learned Torah. He didn't go home for 12 years, because that's how long they agreed that he would stay in yeshiva. At the end of 12 years, he was on his way home. And just as he was about to knock on the door and say, Rachel, I'm home, he heard Rachel talking inside. She was talking to her friend, and she was saying to her friend, I am so proud that my Akiva is learning and learning and learning, and it's been 12 years, and if he would stay for another 12 years, I would be so happy. Akiva heard this, and he thought, I am the luckiest man that my wife lets me learn Torah. He turned around, and he went back to yeshiva, and he learned for another 12 years. Now, at the end of these 12 years, he was an enormous, enormous tzaddik. The whole world knew about him. Everybody was learning Torah from Akiva. Do you know what they started calling him? Rabbi Akiva. They called him Rabbi Akiva. He was the Rabbi of the whole world. And after learning and learning and learning for 24 years, because 12 plus 12 is 24, he was coming home. And he had all his Talmidim were with him, and they were singing and they were dancing around him, and they were saying thank you to him for all the Torah that he taught. He had 24,000 Talmidim. That is a lot of Talmidim. And they were dancing home, and he was just about at his house, and he saw through all the people who had come to welcome him, he saw his wife, Rachel. And he said to everyone who was there, and Rachel's father was also there. Rachel's father did not know who Rabbi Akiva was. He said to all the people who were there, all the Torah that I learned, and all the Torah that you learned from me that I was able to teach, is all because of Rachel, all because of her. Kalba Savua saw that Akiva, that everyone was talking about, was his wife's husband, and he saw he was his daughter's husband, and he saw his daughter standing there, his daughter Rachel. He stopped everyone also, and he said, Rachel and Akiva, I am so sorry that I did not give you any money when you were so poor. Please forgive me for not believing in you, Akiva, that you could learn Torah. Please let me help you. And they forgave him, of course, and he gave them lots of money and lots of tzedakah. And that is how Akiva, the poor shepherd boy, became Rabbi Akiva. One of the songs that's about Rabbi Akiva is a song that we know. HaOmer Rabbi Akiva, HaOmer Rabbi Akiva, v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha. HaOmer Rabbi Akiva, HaOmer Rabbi Akiva, v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha. One of the main things that Rabbi Akiva taught is v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha. You have to love everybody. Everybody, you have to love them the way you want people to love you. I don't want anyone to shout at me, so I mustn't shout at anyone. I don't want anyone to be rude to me and to call me horrible names, so I mustn't be rude to people and call them horrible names. I don't want to ask someone for help and they'll turn around and say, no, I'm busy playing a game. So if my mom asks me for help, I mustn't say to her, no, I'm playing a game. I need to help her. Rabbi Akiva taught us v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha. And during the time of the HaOmer, during these days that we're in now, the time of the HaOmer, this is the time when we practice. Be kind, be kind, be kind. Be kind, be kind, be kind. Be kind, be kind, be kind. Every single day, be kind, be kind, be kind. That is a great R song that we sing lots and lots and lots. You didn't hear it so many times because we just had a few short weeks together, but you'll hear it for the rest of the year, and you'll know that it comes from these days of the HaOmer. Be kind, be kind, be kind. Be kind, be kind, be kind. Every single day, be kind, be kind, be kind.